Why could only Odysseus string the bow? The Odyssey explained. Warning: this video contains spoilers for Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, Homer's The Odyssey, and Greek mythology. One of the most unforgettable moments in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey doesn't involve a sea monster, an angry god, or a great battle. Instead, everything comes down to a single weapon: Odysseus' legendary bow. As the story reaches its climax, more than 100 powerful suitors gather inside the palace of Ithaca. Every one of them wants to marry Penelope, become king, and take everything that belongs to Odysseus. To decide who deserves the throne, Penelope announces an unusual challenge. Whoever can string Odysseus' bow and shoot an arrow through the holes of 12 axe heads will win her hand in marriage. It sounds simple. After all, these are some of the strongest warriors in Greece. But one after another, they fail. Some cannot even bend the bow. Others struggle until their hands ache. Not a single suitor comes close to stringing it. Then an old beggar quietly asks for a chance. The room erupts in laughter. Moments later, that same beggar strings the bow with ease. So, why could only Odysseus do it? Was the bow magical? Did it somehow recognize its true owner? Or was there another reason no one else could master it? Let's find out. The first thing to understand is that Odysseus' bow wasn't an ordinary weapon. According to Greek mythology, it had been given to him years earlier by Iphitus, the son of the legendary archer Eurytus. Eurytus was considered one of the greatest bowmen in Greece, and his weapons were famous for their exceptional craftsmanship. This wasn't the kind of bow an average soldier could pick up and use. It was powerful, difficult to bend, and required years of practice to master. Unlike a sword, which anyone could swing with enough strength, a bow demanded precision. Every movement had to be perfect. The amount of force used to bend it had to be exactly right. The string had to be attached in a specific way. Even the smallest mistake could make the task impossible. Odysseus had spent years hunting and training with this bow. He knew every detail of it. He understood how it felt in his hands. He knew exactly how much pressure it required. By the time he left for the Trojan War, the bow had become almost like an extension of his own body. The suitors, on the other hand, had never used it before. Many viewers assumed the contest was only about strength. Strength certainly mattered. Ancient composite bows were far more difficult to string than modern bows because they were made from layers of wood, horn, and animal sinew, creating incredible tension. But strength alone wasn't enough. Technique mattered just as much. Imagine watching someone sit behind a concert piano. Anyone can press the keys. Only a skilled pianist can perform a masterpiece. The same idea applies here. Anyone could hold Odysseus' bow. Only its true master knew how to make it work. This perfectly reflects one of the biggest themes in the Odyssey. Throughout the story, Odysseus rarely succeeds because he is the strongest man. He succeeds because he is the smartest. He escapes the Cyclops through clever planning. He survives the sirens because he prepares in advance. He defeats impossible challenges by thinking before acting. Again and again, Homer reminds us that wisdom is often more powerful than physical strength. The bow represents that lesson. Christopher Nolan emphasizes this beautifully. The suitors believe the challenge is a test of muscles. Odysseus understands it is a test of mastery. There is another reason why no one else succeeds. The bow isn't just testing skill. It is testing identity. For 20 years, the suitors have tried to replace Odysseus. They have lived in his palace. They have eaten his food. They have wasted his wealth. They believe that marrying Penelope will automatically make them king. But becoming king requires far more than sitting on a throne. A true ruler earns respect through sacrifice, leadership, wisdom, and courage. The bow becomes the perfect symbol of that truth. Anyone can claim to be the next king. Only the rightful king can prove it. One by one, the suitors step forward. Some pull with all their strength until they are exhausted. Others try warming the bow near the fire, hoping the wood will become more flexible. Some even rub it with oil to make it easier to bend. Nothing works. Their frustration grows with every failed attempt. Then the old beggar quietly asks if he may try. The suitors burst into laughter. To them, the idea is ridiculous. If the strongest warriors in Ithaca have failed, how could an old traveler possibly succeed? But the audience already knows something they don't. The beggar isn't an ordinary man. He is Odysseus, disguised by Athena. Calmly, Odysseus takes the bow into his hands. He doesn't rush. He examines it carefully, almost as though greeting an old friend after many years apart. Then something remarkable happens, without straining, without forcing it, without the slightest sign of difficulty. He bends the bow and slips the string into place in one smooth movement. Homer compares the action to a skilled musician tightening the string of a lyre before a performance. The comparison is beautiful because it reminds us that mastery often looks effortless. What appears impossible to everyone else feels natural to the person who has practiced for a lifetime. But stringing the bow is only the first challenge. Next comes the impossible shot. 12 axe heads have been lined up in a perfect row. The holes in their handles create a tiny path for the arrow. Missing by even a fraction will cause the arrow to strike the metal. Odysseus draws the bow. The hall becomes silent. He releases the string. The arrow flies straight through all 12 axe heads without touching a single one. In that instant, everything changes. The old beggar is no longer just a stranger. Everyone realizes that only one man alive could have performed such a feat. The true king of Ithaca has returned. Immediately afterward, Odysseus reveals his identity. Standing beside Telemachus, he locks the palace doors and confronts the suitors. The very bow they couldn't even string becomes the weapon that restores justice to Ithaca. Arrow after arrow finds its mark. The palace that had been ruled by greed and arrogance is finally reclaimed by its rightful king. The bow carries an even deeper meaning. Throughout the Odyssey, people try to take shortcuts to power. The suitors believe wealth, status, and ambition are enough to make them rulers. The bow proves otherwise. True leadership cannot be stolen. It cannot be inherited simply by marriage. And it cannot be won through arrogance. It must be earned through years of sacrifice, perseverance, wisdom, and experience. By the time Odysseus strings the bow, he has survived the Trojan War. He has outwitted the Cyclops. He has resisted the temptations of Circe and Calypso. He has endured storms sent by Poseidon himself. Every hardship has shaped him into the king he was always meant to be. The bow doesn't simply recognize its owner. It symbolizes everything Odysseus has become. So, why could only Odysseus string the bow? Because the challenge was never just about physical strength. It was about mastery. It was about experience. It was about patience. And above all, it was about proving that the rightful king of Ithaca had finally come home. What do you think? Do you believe the bow was simply too difficult for anyone else to use? Or do you think it symbolized something much greater, proving that only the true king could reclaim his throne? I'd also love to hear your opinion on one more question. If you had been standing in that great hall and watched an old beggar effortlessly string the legendary bow after every warrior had failed, would you have realized it was Odysseus? Or would you have thought you had just witnessed a miracle? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I always enjoy reading your theories and discussing these incredible moments from Greek mythology. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more The Odyssey Explained videos, Greek mythology stories, hidden details, character breakdowns, and Christopher Nolan analysis. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.